Hello everyone, it's been a while since I last uploaded a video on this channel. As of right now when I'm recording this, it's December 30th, 2025, and this intro is unscripted. Actually, this entire video is unscripted. I do have some things that I want to mention before I get into this list. First of all, I wasn't wanting to do this, but I realized maybe a week or two ago it's probably the best option for, with how little time I have with my year-end lists. I'm canceling my list of the best and worst hit songs of 2025. Part of that is because I just have not followed along with pop music at all in this year, and thus it would feel a little bit weird for me to just suddenly try and familiarize myself with all of the songs that were big hits and then just put them in some sort of ranking when I've just discovered them all recently. But also, I just didn't really have the time, and last year I ended up doing lists of the best and worst hit songs of the year, and then having to cancel my my best songs and albums. And I didn't want to do that again this year. I really wanted to publish my list of my favorite albums and songs of this year. That was much more important to me than the best and worst hit songs. I'm not doing worst albums or worst songs or anything like that this year. I'm just doing two lists, the top 50 albums and the top 50 songs. Now, the funny thing is, I was actually totally prepared to just make these two lists and only do a top 40 albums of 2025. But I actually realized there were enough albums that I'd heard. I had more than 40 great albums that I was already I didn't realize until I added them all up onto a list. I realized I actually had probably enough content for a top 50. So I ended up listening to a few more albums toward the end of the year and managed to find enough for a top 50. The thing is, though, that I should probably mention, I've recognized more and more over the years of doing this YouTube channel, back in the day when I wrote on my blog, opinions can change. And I also am not going to pretend that I'm some super knowledgeable music god who knows everything about all these albums. I'm going to be honest, probably compared to your average music critic, I'm talking compared to your average person who does what I do on YouTube, just randomly listing these albums, even compared to that average, I'm probably below average in terms of understanding these albums. Not just musically, but also lyrically, because I'm going to be honest, this year I was so, mentally, I don't know if checked out is the right word, crashed out. It was a weird year for me, and honestly, music, as much as it did play a big role, it was more for specific songs rather than full albums, and that's the number one thing that I noticed. And also, even then, I didn't really sit down and listen to music closely this year, where I actually really took it in, and sometimes I did, but again, even that was more with individual songs than full length albums. So, yeah, this list, I might look back at this in 5 or 10 years and maybe I'll agree with a lot of it. I don't know. But I also could end up looking back at it and wondering what the hell I was thinking. And honestly, I'm surprised I was able to find 50 great albums this year. That was my biggest problem last year was if I remember correctly, I wasn't able to find 50 great albums and I knew I was going to have to do a lot more listening in order to get there. 2023, I managed to do a top 50, but that's because I listened to a lot more that year. And 2022 and 2023 were on my blog. But 2022, I made a top 50. I didn't listen to as much that year as I did in 2023. But my 2022 top 50, I look back at it, and a lot of those albums I wildly overrated at that time, in my opinion. But anyway, I did really enjoy these 50 records that I'm about to talk about today. Another thing I want to mention, which is probably pretty obvious, but this is not in any way meant to be some sort of objective list of the best albums of the year. Yes, it says best in the title, but it's a better title. It works better for a YouTube video title. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna be honest. It's not as much even just the amount of music that I listened to this year being lower than I was hoping, but also I didn't listen to a super diverse collection of music. It was mostly just indie rock, black metal, and country, and that was about it. I mean, yeah, I listened to the occasional pop record, the occasional hip hop record. It was pretty much just like indie rock, country music, and black metal, and that was basically it for the most part. Which is why you're not going to see a lot of hip hop on this list. You're not going to see a lot of pop on this list. You're not going to see a lot of electronic or anything like that. You're not going to see a lot of even like metalcore. I mean, that's never been a genre I've been huge on personally, but even then, like, I didn't listen to that much this year. And honestly, like, a lot of these genres I want to explore more, and especially hip hop, that's a big one that I understand is a very, very important genre culturally, and it can have a lot of great music. And there are a couple hip hop albums on this list, but especially because I, if I'm being completely honest, I don't understand hip hop music as well as I would like to. And that's something I want to work on in 2026. And I feel like the more of it I listen to, the more I will hopefully understand it better. And I'm not saying this as a critique of the genre, I'm saying it as a critique of myself. And, as a result, I often didn't feel mentally ready to try and take in full hip hop albums and really process them. And thus, even the hip hop albums that are on this list are not albums that I fully have as much of an understanding of as I would have liked. And you know what? That goes for other genres as well. It can be said about a lot of other albums that are either not on this list or that are on this list in pretty much any genre. Really, like, I feel like there's really not that many albums this year that I fully understood in the ways that I would like to, but you know what? Music is also open to interpretation. So take all of what I've said here as, partially a critique of myself as a music critic and me saying that I want to, in 2026, hopefully listen to more, really process it more, listen to a more diverse selection of music. That's my goal. But for now, we got 2025 to deal with. Alright, so I think I got everything important out of the way. So yeah, let's get right into the list. And just to be clear, I'm going to be kind of listing these in sort of Anthony Fantano style, kind of like how he does his top 50 of the year, where for the first half, I'm just going to quickly list them. I might go into a little bit more detail in the top half, but also this video is going to be kind of rushed. Again, considering everything I just said, I haven't listened to, I haven't fully processed all of these albums as much as I would have liked. So, yeah, I'm not going to have a ton to say even about the albums in the top half. But anyway, all that out of the way, I'm going to quickly list the bottom half. Alright, kicking things off at number 50, it's Jelly Haha with Switcheroo. Then at 49, a band I wasn't expecting to be putting on this list, Shame, with, in my opinion, their best album to date, Cutthroat. At number 48, it's Baths with Gut. And then at 47, Fernando Mata, Movimento Algum. Number 46 is Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory by Sharon Van Etten. At number 45, it's The Life You Save by Flock of Dimes. 44, Earl Sweatshirt, Live, Laugh, Love. Then number 43, it's Lambrini Girls with Who Let the Dogs Out. At number 42, it's, in my opinion, Epica's best album to date, Aspiril. And then at number 41, an album I was disappointed by. I thought I was going to love it a lot more, considering just how much I loved their debut. But, I will still acknowledge it is still a pretty great record. That is Spiritbox with their latest album, Tsunami Sea. And it did end up a little bit higher on this list than I thought it would. I thought it might be right near the bottom. Then at number 40, we got In the Earth Again by Chatpile and Hayden Patago, a really good collaboration between them. Terrifying record, but a really, really good one. Number 39, Anna von Hauswolf with Iconoclasts. Then at number 38, it's Never Enough by Turnstile. Number 37, Not Really, Secret Pancake. And at number 36, it's James McMurtry with The Black Dog and the Wandering Boy. And then at number 35, it is the newest album from The Beaches, No Hard Feelings. At number 34, Wolf Alice with The Clearing. And then at number 33, The Scholars by Car Seat Headrest. My first experience with the Car Seat Headrest album. I didn't fully follow along with whatever the story being told in this one was, but I did have a lot of fun listening to it. Then at number 32, it's Sprints with All That Is Over. I like this one probably better than their debut. And then at number 31, Annie DeRusso with Super Pedestrian. Then at number 30, we got Turnpike Troubadours with The Price of Admission. And then at 29, Portrait of My Heart by none other than Spelling. At number 28, we got my favorite Lucy Dacus album thus far, Forever Is a Feeling. And then at 27, it's Turquoise Death with Guardian. And closing out the top half, number 26, a great hip-hop album from McKinley Dixon, Magic Alive. Alright, so at number 25, we got Tranquilizer, the newest album from Oneohtrix Point Never. I haven't fully gotten into Oneohtrix Point Never's solo music. Like, I haven't taken the time to really listen to much of it, aside from that 2023 album, which I thought was okay. It was pretty good from what I remember. But this one really surprised me. It's such a cool musical experience that just washes over you. Then at number 24, we got the newest album from Blonde Shell, If You Asked for a Picture. I remember listening to Blonde Shell's 2023 album, and I thought it was a decent indie rock album at the time. I haven't listened to it in a while since it came out. But this one really surprised me. Her vocals are amazing on it. So many better hooks on this album, too. Then at number 23, we got banger after banger from Clips with their newest album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. Should be no surprise to see this one here. It's going to be making a lot of lists for the best albums of 2025. And yeah, just banger after banger. So many great tracks on it. So many great verses, some great guest verses. And yeah, it's Pusha T and Malice with production from Pharrell. I mean, I'm sure you know at this point, but yeah, this was a really great album, and yeah, it's not surprising that this is going to be making a lot of lists for 2025. Then at number 2022, it's Deafheaven with Lonely People with Power, another one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year, if not the most critically acclaimed album this year. And I was not expecting to put Deafheaven on this list. I don't just think this is their best album since Sunbather. I think this is their best album, period. And yeah, I've never been a huge Deafheaven fan before this, but this one really wowed me. And there's a lot of really sad, heartbreaking lyrical themes on it of the reality, the harsh reality of how a lot of people, to get to the top, they end up being selfish, and that's kind of the only way that they can, but it shows like the harsh reality of those situations with those people. And the music totally complements that as well, and it really, really just goes so hard. Such a great record. Then at number 21, it's Alex G with Headlights. This was a really, really cool album. It's got a lot of variety on it. Some interesting lyrics that are kind of hard to piece together, but I also think that's kind of the point. A lot of it's kind of left open to interpretation, I feel like. At number 20, it's Richard Dawson with End of the Middle. Really unique vocal delivery on that one. It was a really cool record. Number 19, 21 Pilots with Breach. In my opinion, this is Trench done right. At least sonically speaking. Because I'm not really the biggest fan of Trench, and this, in my opinion, deserves the acclaim that Trench got, and in my opinion, that album doesn't, but that's just me. At number 18, an album that grew on me a lot. The latest record from Unrequited, A Pathway to the Moon. I liked it when it came out, but I did not give it the proper credit that I feel like it deserved. This is a fantastic black metal record. Absolutely awesome. At number 17, it's Natalia Lafourcade with Cancionera. An album that just felt so comforting to listen to. It was just so pleasant to the ears. I never even listened to it that much throughout this year because it is quite long. But whenever I did go back to it, it was just like, this is exactly what I needed. And then at number 16, we got the latest record from Open Mike Eagle, Neighborhood Gods Unlimited. This guy, I gotta listen to more of his stuff because he's 2 for 2 with me so far. I like this one even better than his 2023 album. Yeah, this was a really interesting kind of experimental hip-hop record. There's some really great storytelling on this, some really cool song concepts. And Yeah, absolutely worth checking out, in my opinion. Another album absolutely worth checking out if you have the time that I've been recommending to quite a few people. It's the latest album from Sur, Amidst the Ruins. A terrific black metal album, great melodies, uh, great like collection of instruments that they use. It's got a very Celtic vibe to it, and yeah, just absolutely excellent album. At number 14, a band I was not expecting to be putting on here because I've never really loved one of their albums up to this point. But the latest album from The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die, Dreams of Being Dust. Yeah, that's a long band name, I know. This one was very intense. You could tell they were very angry about the state of the world right now, and that is on full display on this album. Then at number 13, it's Grand Brothers with Elsewhere. I don't love it quite as much as Late Reflections from 2023, which absolutely blew my mind. This one, though, is still a very, very, very enjoyable album. Really cool, like often piano based, like ambient album, a kind of electronic album. What they're doing is unlike anything else that I've heard in recent years from anybody. At number 12, it's Ganser with Animal Hospital. Uh, this one was this one was really really interesting, kind of a sort of like trippy experimental punk record that was really fun to listen to like late at night with headphones on. Very strong like Radiohead Kid A vibes too. I don't put it quite in the same league as Kid A by Radiohead, but still a absolutely amazing record. And at number 11, we got The Weather Station with Humanhood, which I reviewed earlier this year on my YouTube channel. Uh, yeah, this one was fantastic. I really should listen to more of The Weather Station's music because I tried to listen to them a little bit. I found some of their stuff really good, but there were a couple albums that really stood out to me, and this was one of them. All right, at number 10, it's the latest album from Flummox, Southern Progress. I actually forgot about this album until I was making this list, and then I revisited it and realized it is absolutely amazing, just like I remembered it being. Um, to quote their Bandcamp page, describes this album as a satirical and scathing critique of Christian nationalism, fascism, and collective trauma, written by a band of queers living in the Bible Belt. And yeah, this is probably my favorite black metal album of 2025. There's a lot going on in the lyrics, which is like it was kind of hard for me to follow along. Again, that's a lot of these albums. Like I didn't piece everything together, but I did really like a lot of the lyrical content on this album. And it's at points it's kind of silly, but it's also, I think there's some real anger and frustration on this album, and a lot of it kind of seems to represent this idea that yeah, I mean, like I'm pretty sure the lead singer is a trans woman, and in the U.S. Right now, that's got to be a very difficult experience. And there's a lot of content on this album about yeah, like struggling to live life to the fullest extent because of the state of the world right now. And yeah, I'm probably doing a terrible job of properly giving this album the credit it deserves because again, this list is very, very rushed, and this is unscripted. But absolutely check this one out. This is a fantastic black metal record. Insane sonically too. Like there's a lot going on, and it's a ton of fun to listen to. At number 9, we got the latest album from Floodlights, a band I just discovered this year. I still should probably get around to listening to their other music. I know there's a lot of music I still want to listen to that I haven't heard yet, but this one reminded me a lot of Black Country New Road at a lot of points, and it's just a absolutely great indie rock album with some great hooks, great vocals, great production, just banger after banger after banger. Next up at number 8, it's Panopticon with Laurentian Blue, a country album, like a very mellow, folksy country album from this artist, normally known for making black metal music. So yeah, this was definitely a like stylistic change for this artist. And I don't have a ton to say about this one because I don't have like the lyrics in front of me or anything. I could hear a lot of them as I was listening to it, but it was hard to kind of like I couldn't really go back and reread them and everything because most of the lyrics were not published for this album. as far as I'm aware. But still a lot of great sort of like almost like internal monologue esque lyrics, and yeah, there's definitely some musical surprises on this one too. At number 7, we got Miffle with Goodbye World, and all I'm gonna say about this one is, uh, listen to this all the way through, not in pieces. That's my best advice. Because if you just listen to it in pieces, it might just be kind of like, what? Why is this getting so much hype? No, this is one to take in all at once, and that's all I'm gonna say. And then at number 6, it's Billy Woods with his latest album, Gollywog, and this one was a lot to take in, and I'm not going to even try to pretend that I fully understood everything on it, especially because it's a Billy Woods album, and his albums are always difficult to fully, you know, untangle all the meanings of. But the basic gist of it, from what I understand, and I could be totally wrong, but from what I understand, um, well, I mean, the album's title is based on a racist doll, and the general theme of the album seems to be there's a lot of mentions of amputation and kind of the metaphor of like there's a lot of lyrics about colonization, and I think the general idea of a lot of it is it's kind of about how minorities, a lot of minorities, uh, probably specifically like African Americans in the United States, have to kind of, unfortunately, to get by in society, have to sort of amputate parts of themselves to be able to live. And it's really sad. And this album is very, very like terrifying. This is basically a horror album. I'm pretty sure there's some like horror movie samples and stuff. And yeah, it's a really, really difficult album to listen to, but I would highly recommend it. I do want to listen to it more because I feel like there's a lot more that I haven't fully untangled from it. And again, like I almost feel bad for coming on here and trying to explain an album that don't I haven't even come close to fully understanding. But this is like the general gist of a lot of the album, and if I'm even understanding it correctly. So let me know if there's something I got completely wrong. But I did find this to be a very, very, very fascinating album, and one that kind of reminded me, again, I want to listen to more of this kind of like experimental hip hop going forward. Alright, at number 5, we got the newest album from Moron Police, Pachinko. This comes after the tragic death of their longtime drummer Thor Omlin Pedersen, who tragically passed away in a car accident in 2022. Rest in peace. And they got Billy Reimer from the Dillinger Escape Plan to fill in on drums. They also have a drum passage from Thor at the end of the closing track. But here's the thing. This album is a tribute to Thor, and it's not really a sad album. It's more a tribute to, you know, the memories, and also it's an album about perseverance and resilience and being able to move forward and push through when life presents its challenges. And it's also a concept album about a guy who turns into a pachinko machine in Tokyo, and it's a ton of fun. There's so many great hooks, so many great catchy moments. The instrumentation is amazing, the production's amazing, and all the way through for an hour it's just non-stop like musical intensity with so much melody, and it's just, I can't describe it. You need to hear it for yourself. And then at number 4, we got the latest album from Seeming, The World. Now, I'll admit this one I got into late in the year, so I haven't fully processed it all. You know, with more listens, could it move up or down the list? I don't know, who knows, but this one felt very like apocalyptic, and just like it has such this like wintry vibe to it. So maybe it's just the time of year, I don't know, but this one really was, it was not what I was expecting. It's my first time listening to a Seeming album, but yeah, there's some really, really cool stuff on this one. And again, I kind of feel like maybe I should be putting in more effort to actually describe it properly. But again, I just got into this album, and you know, maybe there's some sort of recency bias because I just discovered it and it's causing me to put it so high on the list. But again, maybe if I listen to it more, it might even grow on me. Who knows? Like it's I cannot say where it would have landed had I taken more time to fully take it in and process it. But still, an absolutely amazing record anyway. Then at number three, it's the newest album from Jason Isbell, Foxes in the Snow. I actually bought this one on vinyl not too long after it came out, and I don't have a lot of vinyl records, but I saw this one at the store and I was like, I need to get this because this Divorce album actually, or at least in large part inspired by his divorce, it's a very sad country album, but sad country music is exactly the thing that I needed this year. And yeah, there's some really fantastic writing on this one. At this point, I kind of feel like if I try and explain all these placements this high on the list, like I'm not properly doing the album's justice. But yeah, there's a lot of, there's some sort of happier moments on this one too. Again, I also like writing this whole list unscripted. Like I'm trying to think of the right words to say about all of these. But again, you know, if you really want to understand these albums better, I'd recommend listening to them for yourself, but I really, really loved this album. Absolutely fantastic country album. And yeah, like, it's a sad record at a lot of times, but, for certain reasons, this one was exactly what I needed to hear. Even though I don't really relate to a lot of the lyrics, it still was exactly the album I didn't know I needed in 2025. And then at number two, sort of in a similar category, honestly, the top few albums were kind of hard to put in order. But number two is the latest album from Caroline Spence, Heart Go Wild. Wow, this one got to me. This was some more sad country music, a lot of songs about heartbreak, and also trying to appreciate life for what it is, for what we do have. And again, I'm not going to go into all the detail right now on why this resonated with me so much. But this one, like, also the vocals, man, Caroline Spence is such a phenomenal vocalist. I haven't really listened to much of her music outside of this. Again, there's so many artists on this list I haven't really listened to outside of these specific albums, but this one really, really resonated with me this year. I highly, highly recommend it. But finally, at number one, I think if I had to pick one, and there were a few contenders for this top spot, but at the end of the day, if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with "Middle" by Jesse Wells. Now it's funny, when I first listened to this album, going into it, I had a weird feeling that I wasn't gonna like it that much, and I don't know why, because Jesse Wells, I've heard so much critical acclaim for him, and this album, this was the one that I was hearing the most good things about. He put out a few albums this year. I listened to one of the other ones. I didn't really find it to be totally my thing. I might take more time to listen to those at some point, but again, I was trying to put together this list and I've been in a time crunch with this YouTube channel. And yeah, this was the one that I heard the most good things about. And even though I love country music and he's a country artist and I've heard great things about this album, I don't know, I had this weird feeling going into it that it was not going to live up to the hype for me. And man, was I wrong, because this was exactly what I needed in 2025. And again, it's another one of those albums on this list where if I try to fully explain it, I feel like I'm just going to not properly do it justice, and I feel like I'm just going to say something wrong or misinterpret something. But there's quite a few different themes on this album. There's a lot about personal reflection and one's personal journey, but also how it relates to society as a whole, and kind of trying to come together as a society and all be on the same team, and kind of showing how, even though a lot of people kind of have the same basic values, we all have different opinions on how to live up to those values. And again, I feel like I'm not properly explaining this album, especially because, again, just like pretty much every album on this list, I probably don't properly understand it. But there's so many songs. Well, also the other thing is I'm not looking at the lyrics and everything right now. Like, again, this video is unscripted, so I'm trying to think of all the things to say here. But like, again, this album, I personally just absolutely adore this album. I think it's the album where every song on the album is just excellent. And that's, most of the albums on this list have their points where it's like, okay, this song's maybe kind of boring or whatever. But not only are the best songs here incredible, like, we're talking amazing, amazing songs, every song here is still great. And I don't think there's a skippable track here. And yeah, it's my album of the year. And again, I know this list was it was very rushed, I know. And I didn't properly say a whole lot about these albums. But again, you know what? I think it also kind of leaves it in some ways up to you to decide if you want to listen to them and properly, understand the albums better. Again, as I'm filming this, now that I'm done all of this talking about these albums, I'm kind of realizing, like, there's a part of me that's wondering why I even decided to make this video. The top songs list, that's something I'm gonna do soon, hopefully. That's gonna be more, I'll have more to say. It's going to be scripted. But this video is also just, like, I don't know, it's kind of just so I have it to look back at. It's kind of for, like, just so I have these albums on a list, you know what I mean? And I thought, why not share them with everybody? Again, there's the other thing that I mentioned earlier is, like, 2025 wasn't really an album year for me. I mean, it was to some extent, especially the ones at the top of this list. But again, this year I just found more in individual songs. Individual songs stuck with me more. It's not even that the individual songs were better than albums this year. I think there were a lot of amazing albums. It's just what I needed more in 2025 was songs rather than albums. But anyway, again, like, if you find this kind of video really, really tedious to watch, I get it. I completely understand. My intent with this video is not to make some sort of really huge music critic statement of, like, oh yeah, I know what I'm talking about. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just listing albums that I personally really loved this year and trying to explain why without even having a script written. And I realized as I recorded this, it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But anyway, I don't want to spend any more time on this right now because I want to focus on the top 50 songs. And that one, right now, like I said, it's December 30th as I'm recording this video. I'm hoping to have this published maybe by later today, hopefully. I don't know when I'm going to get around to doing that, but my top 50 songs, though, I'm going to see if I can find audio clips to, like, play in the video. I haven't done that in any of my videos yet. And also, I still have to finish writing the script. I have the list all prepared. I just want to finish writing a script for that one. So that one, hopefully early January for that list. But we'll see. Again, I don't even know when this video will be published. But anyway, I'm going to stop yapping for now. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate everyone who decides to watch my videos. Again, in 2026, I am going to try to be a little bit more, serious about this YouTube channel, but I don't know. For now, for this video, I just wanted to get this video out. So there you go. Those are my top 50 albums. Feel free to let me know your list in the comment section down below, or if I completely misinterpreted something about one of these albums, feel free to tell me as well. Or, what you agree with or what you disagree with. Whatever you like. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all later.